Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hey everyone, we are from Group 8, Tibik A IAIN Pekalongan for English Language Assignments. In here, we are going to present about managing exercise and classroom essentials. Before starting, introduce me Fatma Oka Azgadina as moderator in here with student ID 2521047. And my friends Tarwihatul Fikriyah with student ID 2521048 and Fariha Dwi Kamala with student ID 2521049. So, happy watching! First, we will discuss about managing exercise. In managing exercise, there are 6 parts, namely 1. Setting an exercise, 2. Writing and copying, 3. Starting to check an exercise, 4. Going through the answers, 5. Giving corrective feedback, and 6. Evaluating. Number 1 is setting an exercise. There are some examples for this point, like try exercise 6, then explain about how to do it. This is the way we'll do it. Then explain the aim or goal or purpose or point of the exercise that you give. The idea of this exercise is to practice blah blah blah. For the record, don't use sentence like I want you to make exercise. And number 2 is writing and copying. There are some examples. Do the exercise in your notebooks, or copy this down in your notebooks, or rewrite it at home. And then number 3 is starting to check an exercise. For examples are, I think you have had long enough on this. Let's see how you did. Let's go through this exercise. Or maybe even simpler by saying, let's check the answers. Students should be encouraged to check their own work. This allows you to give individual help, like check your answers on page 23, or change or exchange or swap or switch papers with someone or your neighbor or your partner.
Going toward the answer. What's the answer to number 1? Can anybody help? Let her try it on her own. Let's have a look at it together. The correct answer is A. Giving corrective feedback. Is that right? Is there another way of saying it? That's also possible. That wasn't quite right. Did anyone notice the mistake? Evaluating. How did you get on? Anybody with 1 mistake? 2 mistake? Come on, see me after the lesson.
Okay, next. Classroom essentials. Asking questions 2. A. Our questions. Our questions, sometimes called alternative questions, offer students a clear choice between 2 or more alternative answers. The reply can consist simply of one of the alternatives offered in the questions. Example: is the answer A or B? Do you prefer blue, red, or green? 1. 4 form. Our questions can take one of 4 forms. A. Basic form. The alternatives are adjacent. Example: is he leaving today or tomorrow? Another example: does she live in Toronto or Vancouver? Did Liverpool or Chelsea win the game? B. Postpone form. The second alternative is at the end. Example: do you finish your homework in the evenings or watch TV? C. Expanded form. The second alternative is in its own verb phrase. Example: is he leaving today or is he leaving tomorrow? Another example: Does she live in Toronto or does she live in Vancouver? Do you finish your homework in the evenings or do you watch TV? D. WH form, a normal WH question with both alternatives at the end. Example: when is he leaving? Today or tomorrow? Another example: where does she live? In Toronto or in Vancouver? What do you do in the evening? Finish your homework or watch TV? The last mentioned WH form is very useful since it practices the understanding of normal WH question. Students can answer by simply choosing one of the alternatives offered. 2. Intonation. In a list of alternatives, the first items are spoken on a high rising intonation, but the final item is on a falling intonation. Example: which alternative is correct? A, B, C, or D? 3. Questions as clues. Where the items in the list are not real alternatives but are meant as clues to help students get the correct answer. A rising intonation is used on the final item as well. This type of question typically follows an unanswered WH question, although the original WH question is then repeated. Example: teacher: where are the tourists going? Student: silence. Teacher: well, are they going to a museum or a cinema or a library? Or where are they going to? Where you don't want to mention a particular alternative but nevertheless help the students towards the correct answer. The second alternative can be or something. A rising intonation is required. Example: teacher: why did the family emigrate? Students: silence. Teacher: well, did they want a better life or something? The second alternative can be or something. Next, notice that yes or no questions can be turned into or questions by adding or not. Example: have you done it or not? Another example: do you know which page we are on or not? B. WH questions. 1. WH words. As the name suggests, WH questions are questions beginning with WH words, namely who, whom, whose, what, which, when, where, why. You can see example in the PPT. How also belongs to the group. Example: how would you translate this into English? Another example: how many of you are there in this group? Notice: A. Whose, who is, who has. Example: who's away today? Whose you seen is already. B. Whom. Example: to whom shall I address the letter? C. What blah 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 for? Why? Example: what did you say that for? D. WH questions are spoken on a falling intonation. Example: teacher: what time is it? Student: 5 to 10. Teacher: surprised or not catching, what time is it? 2. Problems. When using WH questions effectively and accurately in language classroom, there are 4 problem areas. A. Word order. B. Word order in indirect questions. C. Special grammatical difficulties. And D. Special types of questions. This unit deals with the first 2 problems and Unit 6 with the others. Next, a word order. Word order in WH question is always a problem for students and occasionally for non-native teachers. The basic word order is question word who, whom, what, where, and auxiliary verb, subject, main verb, object. Who are, whom are, what is, what are, where did. Most problems occur when the WH question word is the subject of the sentence. You can see in the PPT WH word as subject, typical error, WH word as object. Example, who began last time? Who did I begin with last time? And etc. Notice that the incorrect sentences in the typical error column are possible, but only with a different intonation and meaning. Example, I didn't begin and you didn't, so who did begin last time? Preposition. Preposition comes at the end of the sentence in English. It is very easy to forget it, especially in longer sentences. Example, which particular word were you thinking of? B. Word order in indirect questions. Indirect WH questions are very frequent and useful in a classroom situation. Two types are A. Do you know blah blah blah? Examples, direct WH question. Why is this answer better? Indirect WH question. Why this answer is better? B. Do you think blah blah blah? Examples, direct WH question. Why is this answer better? Indirect WH question. Why do you think this answer is better? In the case of the verb to be and who or what as the subject, there are two word orders possible. 1. Who do you think the king of Spain is the king of Spain? 2. What do you think? The answer to number 4 was the answer to number 4. Typical mistakes. What do you think means this word? Another example. What do you think did invented the transistor? What do you think? Where does she live? What do you think? How old is he?
Okay, that's the presentation of our group 8. Thank you for watching. Sorry if there are mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.